Hey, this is David Kaplan from the Cap J Hood Show on ESPN 1000 and NBC Sports Chicago. Now get ready to listen and watch to Bulls 101 with Kris and Larro. Take that, Sparkles.
Welcome into Bulls 101. I'm Chris Amundsen here with my guy Larro Golden on this beautiful Saturday evening. How are you feeling, Mr. Barroom Network?
Man, I got to represent, man, But I'm feeling good, man. It's going to be a fun night, man. We're going to have a lot of fun talking these last two wins by the Bulls and how they played and just have fun. It doesn't have to even be about the Bulls. Maybe we could just have some fun tonight, man. You never know.
We could definitely have used a good week this week after there's been, Zach out for protocols and the ankle and the losing record and falling out of the playoffs. At least we're still in it. We're still hanging on, but we had two really, really good wins against the Pelicans and the Celtics this week, and we're still in it. So there's nobody that I could have had on this show for the positive vibes that I want than our guy C-Red Fred. So Fred Pfeiffer, if you guys don't know and follow him on Twitter, one of the most hilarious follows, really knowledgeable Bulls fan, very also very controversial, always has a strong opinion on everything. And so we really just wanted to chop it up with him tonight and kind of get his takes on a bunch of different things. And you guys are going to have a lot of fun. We're going to get into a debate, Derrick Rose versus Jimmy Butler. We're going to do some word association. We're going to talk about this week's games. We're going to break down some film, and we're going to do it at a higher level than what Fred usually does. Fred usually points his phone at the screen and records it. So we're just taking it up a notch. So we want to welcome in Fred Pfeiffer. See you at Fred. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. How dare you criticize my my breakdowns by using my iPhone 8? It's awesome to talk to you guys, Larro and Kris, man. I got to tell you, I love your show. I think you guys have kind of burst onto the scene the last few episodes. The one with Cap, I encourage everybody to go back and listen to. That's one of my favorite I've ever heard of any Bulls podcast. I thought you guys broke a lot of news. And then the last show with the Bulls Gold guys, who I love, was alternately enjoyable and outrageous. So I found myself like I was agreeing with Ed. I'd say I think Ed won that episode. I think he was right the vast majority of the time. But hearing you heap praise on a bum like Nico Mirotic was really disheartening. But I do agree with a lot of what you said too, though. So it was very enjoyable, and we can get into the numbers on Nico a little later. But yeah, it's great to be here. Let's get it on. I'm excited. By the way, let's start out with this though. Nico Mirotic. Has there ever been a Bulls player more disappointing in the playoffs? 38% from the field, 31% from three. What was the reason that every year in his 40 playoff games, he seemed to just suck to high heaven? I don't understand it. Can you explain that, Kris? What was it about it? Anytime there was pressure put on Nico, he seemed to go. He was fantastic for a 3-20 team. Oh, let's bring Nico back. Oh, he's playing great for a 3-20 team. But you know what? When the Bulls really needed him, like in the first 48 games in 2016-17, and he shot 29.9% from three for the first 48 games when we needed an outside shooter. Oh, gosh, is he the most frustrating Bull ever? Because he did have talent. I'm sorry I've hijacked this. I just had to bring this up. I'm glad.
I've been – Nico Mirotic was – one player that I always thought was underappreciated while he was here, but he is I agree with you completely, Fred. He's a very, very frustrating player to watch. He was a player that needed a specific role in the team to really shine. Now, his nickname was like March Nico, right? The March Madness Nico every year. And the reason he did that every year had nothing to do with the date on the calendar. It had to do with the fact that the players on the team that had a higher, or higher in the totem pole offensively in a role would go out with injury. It was Rose, it was Powell, it was Jimmy, it was Wade one year. And when those guys would go out, Nico would have to step up into that role. Whenever he was, the second banana or third banana, rather than just go stand in the corner and shoot threes, Nico, he played really, really well. And as you mentioned, when we were trying to tank his last year here, and he came back from getting punched in the face of Bobby Portis, he went on an absolute tear. The Bulls were a 55-win team when he was on the floor in net rating, and they were a 7 or 10-win team without him. But you're right. In the playoffs, he had some pretty rough times with the Bulls because he was kind of back to that. He is not a catch and shoot guy. He was not good at that at all. I thought he had a great performance with the Pelicans. Again, when they swept the Blazers in the first round, I thought he really kind of showed his defensive chops, his smarts. The shooting is up and down. I completely agree with you. It was up and down all the time, but he brought a lot of other things. And I think he reminds me of Wendell Carter a little bit in the sense that a lot of what he does that's good on the court is not something that stands out to the casual viewer, someone as you're just watching the game. But I know we could spend like 45 minutes on Nico.
I'm a Wendell Carter stan. Everything you said about Nico, I completely disagree with. You pointed out the one series in the playoffs that he shot higher than 40% in his career. Yes, he had one good series for the Pelicans in round one, and he was so bad by the end of his career for Milwaukee. I love talking to Milwaukee fans about Nico Mirotic because it's hilarious as they describe the way that he devolved into this, blubbering ball of clay by the end of that series. He was so bad that he didn't even play. So I agree. Let's not talk about Nico, and I'm sorry for starting this off.
But I will say, my last comment on Nico will be, I would love to have that man's life. He lives in Barcelona, Spain, which is one of the greatest places on the face of the planet. He's playing for his team. He's just having a great time. Doesn't have to worry about the NBA anymore. Doesn't worry about the playoffs.
I'm mutually glad. I don't have to worry about watching him play basketball anymore. I'm ecstatic. So we're not going to agree on this one. This is part of Mark's 7%.
Oh, wow.
We're at 93% where he's wrong. So that he's a big Nico stan too. So we'll go on some other topics. Let's talk about something we can agree on.
All right. Well, let's talk about the Bulls this last week. What have you liked about their performance? Because I think they've looked like a playoff team against the Celtics. They look like a playoff team.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, how can you be upset about a team, coming out and just absolutely pounding two teams in Charlotte and Boston that they're allegedly worse than, right? That allegedly they're better than the Bulls, and they just went out and for the first time all year, they had that combination of Levine, Vucevic, and Kobe starting, and they're undefeated. Yeah, I understand. There's a lot of people that are frustrated. It's a tough spot because if you sat Vucevic and Zach, we're probably losing the pick no matter what. And, so to me, it's kind of like we're in a really tough spot. I don't think you can go, though, and end the season with those guys on the bench, considering where we were before. And so I think, there is some positivity to take into the fact that if they're going to finish this season strong, I compare it to what happened last year for the Suns. Everybody wants to give all the credit to Chris Paul, but you forget they were 8-0 in that bubble last year to finish the season. There was a lot of positivity around that organization. Yeah. I think that's what the Bulls are building right now, and hopefully they can do something in this offseason to put them into a position of becoming a true contender. But it's kind of a tough spot, though, too. I do understand. I think Cowley had a tweet today that the Bulls could end up going from like a 31% chance at the top 4 to like 13 if they continue to win. But they're not over yet. It's not done yet. Like Indiana's kind of falling apart, too. So I just don't think you can send that message to Zach and Vucevic if you're serious about winning, as long as there's an outside chance that you could still make the playoffs.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree with that 100% because, one of the biggest reasons why he went in and got Vuce is to show Zach, like, hey, dude, we believe in you, and we're gonna get you we'll get you another All-Star that you can play with, and let's try to see what we can do with it. But these last 2 games, I know that you've been, harping on Pat a lot, you know what I mean, and that not like in a way of, like this guy sucks, but in terms of like, hey, maybe we should move him to the bench until he figures things out, and we can move forward. But I just see from these last 2 games, you can just kind of see that everybody's figuring out their roles. They're figuring out what needs to happen. Everybody understands. Okay, boom, it's Zach and Vooch, and you got Kobe now. He's playing a little bit more off ball in the catch and shoot situations, and he's excelling. And now you got Pat, who's attacking the glass. He's pushing the pace. He's cutting really well. It's just been really fun to watch. And I feel like, and also you can't go without saying Tice. Tice has been really good. He's played really well on both sides of the floor. You wouldn't think that him and Vooch would be playing, you'd be able to play them together, but they've been fine. It's just been really nice to see. I understand, like you said, about people that want them to lose and see if we can get a higher chance at a pick. But I want to see this team compete because as a fan, I want to see what we have when the chips are down, your back's against the wall. I want to see who steps up. I want to see what type of team we have. We have, and to be honest, man, I like what I'm seeing. So.
Yeah, I don't want to seem like I was hard on Pat. Like, I understand he's 19 years old. My basic point was from February 24th until I think it was like April 16th, he had one game where the Bulls had a positive plus-minus. When he was on the floor, they were basically getting their ass kicked every minute he was on the floor. And there's no doubt the guy has tons of talent. He's got incredible gifts, natural gifts. Yeah. But, as someone, I would watch the game with, my coach, and we would consistently point out things that he was doing wrong. He was always he wasn't really, I don't really want to get into the, the X's and O's about it, but he was not playing very well. And more importantly, to my biggest frustration with him is he wasn't attacking the offensive glass. It's clear to me someone got to him in the last 5 games and said, you need to be more aggressive in attacking the rim on the offensive and defensive end. And I think he's done that a lot better. To his credit, too, I don't think he's a 3. He's a power forward. That's the position he's optimized at. That's where he has the best advantage at taking, his physical advantages at the 4 with slower players are give him a much greater advantage than he does at the 3. I don't think he's been exceptional as a defender on the 3. And I think a lot of these guys have really taken advantage of him there. So he's been put in a tough position. I feel for the kid, and that's my biggest issue with this season is I think the Bulls were completely incongruent in handing him a starting role at the 3, yet and this is supposed to be a season of evaluation, yet you pull Kobe White from the starting lineup and hand it to Sato before the trade, which absolutely made no sense to me. Why are you doing that with Kobe White, who I think has been unfairly maligned worse than any player on this team for such a young player? This is supposed to be a season evaluation and development. You pull him out of starting lineup, you throw Sato in. We already saw that movie last year. The guy's not a starter. He's a backup point guard. I understand Kobe's not a natural point guard. Why are you pulling him out of the lineup when, and you're not doing it with a guy who was clearly struggling there for a month? He's played a lot better lately, so I don't think it's an issue anymore.
Yeah.
Fred, two things that you'll learn on this show. Number one, criticism isn't hate. Like, we're good with criticism. That we understand, where you're coming from with it. You want Pat to succeed. That doesn't mean, and so if you want Pat to succeed, you have to point out what his strengths are and what his weaknesses are. And I think a lot of the fan base, it's funny because fan bases tend to be reactionary, like most human beings, right? And it's either, Troy Brown Jr., you can't criticize him. He's the new guy. He's the new, beloved person coming in. Or Pat, he's our rookie. Or like Wendell, you can't say a good thing about Wendell. Everyone hates Wendell. Everyone loves Gaffer. Everyone's so reactionary about stuff. But it's the players have strengths. Players have weaknesses. If you think someone's a bum, like if people call people bums all the time in the NBA, it's like no one in the NBA is a bum. Yeah. Like you can just say he's not good at this or he's not good at that. And I know you agree with me on this because all right. Well, but your boy Denzel gets a lot of hate. But he does a lot of things well, and he does some things not so well that piss a lot of people off, and I understand why. But criticism isn't hate. The second thing is we like to dive into the X's and O's. So if you want to get an X and O's with us, believe me, we're happy to do so.
I want to hear it.
This is Coach Larro Golden. Coach Larro
exactly.
Golden.
Well, I think the biggest issue, obviously, with if we're going to get an X's and O's, what I saw with Patrick was on help defense. I don't think he was anywhere near as advanced as people made it out to seem. He was constantly, let's say, on the weak side, not at the help line, not far enough over to make it easy for people to understand where he should have been. And I tried to consistently point this out through my amateurish videos. And every time I did it acted like I was personally attacking the guy. I wasn't. I'm just trying to point out he's in the wrong position. And, it's a tough. He's 19, he doesn't know the game yet. So it's completely understandable. They're not having a lot of practice time and pointing this out. And then especially on the offensive side of the ball, that was one thing where I just continually saw him just having possession after possession. And Casey Johnson agreed with me on this, that he would just run to the opposite side of the weak side. And if a shot went up, he'd just jog right back, never attacking the rim, never trying to get an offensive rebound. Just far too laissez-faire, I thought, of approach to the game. And that's changed in recently, where I've seen him actually use his skills and his athleticism to attack the offensive boards. That's what we need from him. Yeah. And, you're just seeing a lot of these rookies now starting to play much better. A guy I was Isaac Okoro was a guy I was a huge fan of. He had 32 points the other night against the Suns. You're seeing Neesmith for the Celtics play a lot better lately. Yeah. It's about time,
he's shooting the heck out of the ball.
Yeah, you can't just keep on saying, "Oh, he's at 19 years old." Eventually, in game 68, you have to say, "Hey, let's see something here." Mm-hmm. I pointed it out. Like, I so much of the fan base turned on Kobe White, and in my head, I just kept on saying, I couldn't figure out why is everybody on Kobe White to this degree. Whereas, like, when you look, I thought Kobe White had far more impressive moments than Patrick Williams has in his rookie year. Kobe White averaged 24 points in his final 9 games as a rookie before COVID ended the season. We haven't seen anything remotely close to that performance from Williams. Now, Williams has significantly more physical skills than Kobe White, but Kobe White was treated like basically garbage by large swaths of the fan base that I couldn't figure out. Now he's coming around again and playing really well. I think the big difference is, let's be honest about it. Patrick was drafted by Arturis and Kobe White was drafted by John Paxson and Gar. Yeah. So I think that goes a long way in making in kind of like painting your viewpoint of that player.
Yeah. I 100% agree with that. And a lot of times, like, it's hard for me at least to get across my point through messaging on Twitter, so I kind of just refrain. But like, you're completely right. And I feel like ever since that Atlanta game, when they were just getting obliterated by Capella on the roll, like I feel like they've been paying a lot more attention to the roller. And as for Pat and Kobe, I just really feel like this is a city, and I've only been in Boston before, and to be honest with you, their fan base is I want to say they're a little bit more patient in terms of player development, and waiting on a player to be good before they kind of just throw them off the ledge, and I just kind of feel like it's okay to criticize a player and say they need to work on this or need to work on that, but I think you also some fans have to understand that like you just don't just get on the court and just take right off. Like obviously there's some players that do. I mean, you look at Tyrese Halliburton. Ever since he's touched the floor, he's been pretty good. But I feel like some of these players are getting drafted into situations that just fit them perfectly. Tyrese Halliburton comes into a situation where he's got De'Aaron Fox. He doesn't have to handle the ball 100% of the time. But so he's in a situation where he can come in and fit in where he needs to fit in. And Kobe, for me, I mean, I really like the way Kobe's been playing. He's playing a lot more poised. He's making the easy reads. Sometimes I feel like he was trying to force things that wasn't there, but now he's starting to make the easy reads. Don't do too much, just keep the offense going, make the next pass, and the offense will figure it out. It takes time, just like with this trade. We shouldn't have made the trade. We got worse, and it's like true. But I think a part of that is because there's no practice time. So you just don't get on the floor and then, me, Vooch and Zach are all-stars. Let's go. And that's not how it works. Both of them have never had a teammate like that before. Zach has never had a Vooch, and Vooch has never had a Zach. So it just is not going to jump off the screen right away. There may be points of the game like, oh man, there it is, but it's not going to be consistent. And there has to be more patience. There has to be more patience.
I agree 100%, especially on Kobe White's perspective, because I think Kobe has shown a lot of the traits, regardless of what you feel about him as a player, and he's lacking physical attributes that you think you need to be a superstar. He does have the desire to shoot. It's like, to me, people laugh when I say this, but it's true. I really believe this is. And I don't know. I like throwing out these sixth grade stories of when I'm coaching my team, just to irritate Mark K from Australia. But basically, I think I mentioned this before. Last year, we had a game we were down by 1 with 30 seconds left, and I asked the team who wants to take the game-winning shot. And out of like 12 guys on the team, 3 guys raised their hands, and I thought only 2 guys were serious about it. I think that that ratio is going to improve as you get to the NBA, but deep down, I think there's more guys, even in the NBA, that would rather not take that shot because they have a greater fear of failure than they do of succeeding. Because people are going to remember what happens in that last second. Yeah, Kobe White has no fear of shooting that shot. Like, he will take the shot, and deal with the consequences. Denzel Valentine's the same way. My concerns are like guys like Sato are. Their natural reaction is to defer, to pass, and not take those shots and not step up when the time is right. And my concerns about Patrick Williams is I don't think he has, I haven't seen it yet, the natural desire to just dominate that all great players, I think, have to impact the game in some form or fashion, that every time they play, you're left with, wow, I saw something there that really impacted the game. Where far too many times this season where I thought Patrick was just running up and down the court. And I, even a guy like, we go back to the Anthony Edwards, who did not have a great start to the season. You still knew he was out there, like even when he was playing poorly, and now he's really come around. The other thing about Patrick, I think he definitely needs to work on is just the motor. I don't think he's always playing exceptionally hard. And to me, that's something that's really hard to teach. It's just like you either have it or you don't. Like, I think Kobe plays with a high motor, and I like that in a kid. I see it in flashes, so I'm not saying it can't happen. And again, he's only 19, but I want him to be the best possible player he can be, because we all agree he's got like all-star talent, so we'll see where it goes. I don't like talking about it because I think people get way too upset and think I'm against the kid. I'm not. I like the kid a lot. I love the kid. As you said, Chris, right? But people listen to the show are like, oh, he's anti-Patrick. He wanted a Okoro. Yes, I did want a Okoro. I think Okoro is going to be a better player. Doesn't mean I don't think Patrick Williams is not going to be great.
Yeah, I agree, and I don't think there's any issue with pointing out ways that Pat could be better. And like all rookies, he's been inconsistent at a lot of things. That's expected. I think there's a lot of flashes that you see. And what ultimately makes a great NBA player is turning those flashes into consistent plays. And so you mentioned something. Kobe was put, I thought, in the hardest position this year out of any player on the team, being thrust in the starting role, asked to play a position that he really had not as much natural talent for, and hadn't had as much experience in doing such a thing. And he has made improvement. It's been up and down. There's been significant, valleys and troughs, at high points and low points here, but he has made improvements in a lot of areas. I think no one would argue that he's not a better facilitator now than he was at the beginning of the year. His turnovers have gotten better. His strengths have not gotten worse either. He's improved statistically, basically across the board. We talked a few shows ago, Larro and I, about him developing this little pull-up mid-range shot that he's actually been knocking down really well this year. And he's getting the offense moving. And even if he becomes a shooting guard the rest of his career, or six, whatever people want to say he is, I don't think that this experience is going to be detrimental to him. I think it'll only help expand his skill set and make him a better player. And the other player I thought was put in a tough position was Wendell Carter, right? Because he basically was told not to score by Boylan and only focus on defense. And then this year it's like, okay, not only do we want you to score, but we also want you to facilitate from the high post. And we want you to shoot threes. And we want you to learn this new defensive scheme that you didn't play last year. A lot of things are put on these guys' plate. And then he's trashed on the entire year by the fan base who want Daniel Gafford to start over him. And it's like, he improved in every area that they wanted him to improve. His 3-point percentage was 36% on the same volume of attempts. It was 20, I think it was 20 last year and like 18 the year before. So he almost doubled his 3-point percentage. His facilitating did get better. He was making better reads. His assists were higher. His shooting was up and down, but I thought he made a lot of improvements. And it's like, what do you guys expect? Not to have a crisis of confidence when they're put in that type of position under that pressure cooker. Now, maybe he's not cut out for it, but you mentioned something I really like about Kobe is Kobe has such a great attitude about the struggles that he works through them. He works harder. He works smarter. He just figures it out, and he doesn't lose confidence in himself, which is something that Wendell did struggle with. He lost confidence in himself at times, but I'm not worried about Kobe long-term as an NBA player. I know people have been way up and down. I know you and Mark have gone back and forth on him a lot this year, and Mark has been low on him at times, but this is to be expected. It's his second year, and he is playing a position he wasn't playing the year before. And I think he's, really, really needs to be congratulated and appreciated more than he has been by the fan base in general.
First of all, I agree with a lot of what you said there. One thing I did want to focus on is how the announcers affect the view of a player. So two examples really come to mind. You guys might not remember this, but in Ben Gordon's last year, which was 2008-9, that summer before that season, people might not remember this, but Ben Gordon and Luol Deng were up for extensions. My podcast partner at the time ran into Jerry Reinsdorf at a bar mitzvah. I think that's where they ran into each other. And he asked him as a joke, hey, now get to work and sign Deng and Gordon. And then Reinsdorf actually told him that we would sign Deng, but they're not going to sign Gordon. Gordon ended up taking a qualifying offer that year. I really believe that someone told Neil Funk to keep that in mind, that we should not covered Ben Gordon in a way with the knowledge that he's probably not going to be here in the following year. I believe that. I don't know if it's true or not. I just remember watching games and listening to the way he was covered and thinking, this is absolutely insane. There was one specific game, I think, where Gordon had like 12 straight points and Neil Funk didn't even mention it until he had 8 points at that point. It absolutely ridiculous. Flash forward to how Wendell Carter Jr. was absolutely hammered every night by Stacey King. And I love Stacey, but his criticism all year when they're playing drop defense, when the coach admitted, people are forgetting that Stacey King is watching the game like you and I are. He's not at the stadium. He's not interacting with the head coach. He's not aware what they're telling him to do. And even he admitted it, and yet he's continually criticizing him on the way that he's guarding players off the pick and roll when that's exactly how he's being told by the coaches.
Yes.
So large swaths, of the fan base just assume, well, he's right, and it's not true. It's not true. Just because I've heard guys that have much better playing careers than any one of us say some of the dumbest things ever. So I mean, it's not, just because you played the game doesn't mean you're always right. And Stacy was 100% wrong in his critiques of Wendell Carter Jr. here. So I think that
100%.
negatively affected his reputation among the fan base, and that's part of the reason he was gone. I agree with you 100%. Wendell Carter Jr. did all set picks, best pick center on the team, best rebounder on the team. And it's a shame, it didn't work out here. But, there's part of it is on him, too. He didn't actually play that great when he had the opportunity this year. So he always got hurt, but I think he's going to have a fine career.
One of the things that frustrates me.
Thank you. First of all, amen.
Oh. I'm glad you brought that up.
We harped on that all year.
For like, part of Stacy's job is to go talk to these coaches on off days. Hey, I saw something during the game. What are you guys doing here? What is that? Is that the drop? Or I've heard drop. Like, what are you expecting out of, because you hear these other guys during other broadcasts, like, hey, I talked to this coach and this is what they're starting to do now. And I kind of feel like that's just bad. Your job is to be the voice during the game to kind of educate the people that don't know what's going on. And if you're not doing that, it's kind of frustrating to us as avid basketball watchers and fans. And that was frustrating because it just happened game after game after game. And if you don't like it, how about you go talk to a coach and figure out why they're doing it? And is he doing it the right way? That way you can say, hey, I don't like it, but coach is wanting this from Wendell, instead of continuing to say, oh, why is he doing that? Why, he should be up here, Adam. He should be here with his hand up and there should be a rotation. It's like, that's frustrating. I mean, he's a funny guy. He's an entertainer. But the other part about it, I just wish he would just go a little bit extra mile and educate himself, because the game has changed so much since he's been in Oklahoma and even when he was a Bull. So you can't say, oh, man, when we did it. No, sorry, brother. The game has changed, okay? We got guys in 3-on-1 break or 3-on-0 break pulling up for threes, brother. It's a different game now, okay? So you're going to have to either educate yourself or just don't speak on it.
You bring up a great point. I'm not going to mention the NBA player that I had this conversation with, but we were watching a game together and he kept on talking about throwing the ball in the post. And there's like a dividing line. Like I was growing up in that era where right around between, I'd say 90 and 1995, every offense before that, the entire goal of it was to get the ball into the post. Yeah. Like 1989, Patrick Ewing, back to the basket. That was the goal from high school all the way down. And then finally people, realized, hey, you get an extra point for shooting 3-pointers. And then, it started to evolve. But even like Ben, I always bring this point up, Ben Gordon, even in that era from 2008 to 2012, I always look at Ben Gordon. He never shot less than 40% from three for the Chicago Bulls in those 5 years. He was ahead of his time because I was looking at, you look at the teams and the amount of 3-pointers they took, and even in 2007 and 8 compared to now, it's like twice as many, 3 times as many. So the game has evolved, and I still think there's a lot of thinking, or just from the fan base, well, he must be right because he played the game back in 1980. And that's not always true. They don't always keep up to date with the way the game is being played now. So I agree with you. I'm not saying that about Stacy. I do want to say one more thing about Stacy, though. I wish Stacy's comments constantly throughout the year in defense of Denzel Valentine had an effect on the fan base. I don't understand, how many times he mentioned he's probably the best passer on the team. He's probably the best rebounder, or one of the best rebounders for his position. He handles the ball well, doesn't turn it over. And yet I've never seen a player. Well, I take that back. There's a lot of players that Bulls fans have had a lot of vile and, anger for, but the sound and fury and outrage over Valentine in that Miami game hit a whole nother level, so yep. I had to turn off my phone in that game with 51 seconds left when he shot up that air ball. We started that quarter down 80-63. Denzel Valentine was 3 for 3 from 3 in that quarter. He was perfect on both ends of the floor up to that point in the game, and he missed that shot. It went viral, and the whole basketball world jumps on Denzel Valentine. Why is he on this team? Why is he in the league? I don't know how many mouth breathers I spoke to in the ensuing 24 hours after that game told me that, did you see Valentine, how he lost that game for us? Like, I literally had that conversation with probably about 10 people. And immediately I said, we wouldn't even been in position to be that close if it wasn't for Denzel Valentine. Like, he played fantastic up to that point. And I agree it was a stupid shot. And I understand why people who didn't watch the game would feel like he sucked that game. It wasn't true. So as a fan base, especially with the Bulls, I really think we need to watch. I heard Zach Lowe, I think I mentioned this before. He mentioned 3 honorable mentions for 6th man of the year. One was, what were the names that he threw out there? Doug McDermott. Mm-hmm. He threw out Cam Payne, and there's somebody else that he threw out that I forgot. But have there been any 2 players that have left this city with less aplomb or more anger than those 2 guys, and now they're 6th man of the year candidates? We constantly turn on players and think they're worthless, and then they go and have success elsewhere. And I guarantee you, one of these 2 players will have success elsewhere. Lauri Markkanen or Denzel Valentine in 1 or 2 years is going to be, have success somewhere else. And think about how both those guys are going out of town right now. So
Fred, now you hold one second. I gotta say this, because this is my biggest pet peeve with fans is treating players like bums and always thinking they're like Wendell Carter missed. Remember, he tripped on himself when he went to get that dunk. It was one of his last games. And I can't tell you how many times that got tweeted to me about like, oh, look at this guy, he belongs in the G League. Or Denzel Valentine, that shot. I just think fans shouldn't turn on players. These are NBA players. They are better at their jobs than you will ever be at anything you ever do in your entire life. Like, just keep that in perspective for a second. They're really good at their jobs. They're in the highest tier. They're going to have a bad night. Steph Curry got his shot blocked by Lauri Markkanen and it bounced off his forehead. That doesn't mean Steph Curry sucks. Yeah. It means he's playing against the best players in the world. And I just think if we kept a little bit more of an even keel on these players of like just taking the good and the bad in stride rather than immediately, putting the flamethrower on someone or putting someone on a pedestal whenever they have a good or a bad game, I think we'd see a lot less drama in the NBA. But I think NBA players are really affected by that kind of thing. You think Cam Payne wasn't affected by everyone calling him a bum in Chicago the entire time he was here? I think Darnell Mayberry wrote a story on that, in fact, about his family and their reaction. I hate this about fans, and I wish fans were not like that, because Kobe White's been the recipient, Denzel Valentine, Wendell Carter, as you mentioned, Doug McDermott, Cam Payne. The list is so long in Chicago sports, and not just Chicago, of people who have been kicked on their way out the door and have had great, successful careers after they left. So, situation matters a lot. And I really think that people just got to chill on that kind of stuff in general. I just see way too much of it.
Yeah. I do. Now, I'm not the biggest Denzel hater at all, because I actually wrote an article back in my early, I want to be a journalist days. You know what I mean? And I loved him coming out of college. And I wanted the Bulls to draft him, and we ended up drafting him. I was happy. But in terms of success, like what exactly do you mean in terms of Denzel? Do you mean kind of like off the bench role and being like more of a, like kind of like now, but just a little bit more minutes, or like what do you expect from Denzel going forward after he's past this?
I expect him to be a rotation player in another team. I think he will be. I don't expect him to be a starter or anything like that, but for our team, he's like the 10th man, and he's been basically. He's without a doubt the most hated player on the team, in my opinion, right? Like I cannot believe the level of hate for this guy relative to where he is on the team. He's our 10th guy. He's had a couple good performances this year. He's not a bum. Like, and I'm joking earlier, Chris, what you said earlier, I agree with you. Like when I call Nico a bum, I probably a little bit overstated, but Nico's had like 40 playoff games. Like he's had a long history. What you stated is absolutely true. Like Cam Payne is going to Phoenix, not saying good things about the Chicago Bulls. I will also say Carlos Boozer, who signed here, was, I thought, treated a little bit unfairly. And the worst case to me was how Paul Gasol was treated, signing less money to come to play for the Chicago Bulls, made 2 All-Star teams, 1 All-NBA team, was absolutely fantastic. And people forget that I was arguing with people on a daily basis who were telling me Felicio was better than him in his last year. And that's absolutely what happened. It's absolutely true. So, like, I don't think it's great that we just flamethrower on a lot of these guys, because they're not going to say great things about their experience in Chicago. And it's happened for, I think, a little bit too long. I don't know exactly why. You can even go a little further back and look at Tyson Chandler. I met Tyson Chandler was one of the nicest guys I ever met in person.
Yeah.
I remember I won a contest to play on the United Center court, and he actually was when I was actually engaged with my wife. And I remember we took a picture with Tyson, and my wife was with me, and he's like, "Hey, I just heard you guys are getting engaged. I just want to say congratulations. Have a great, like something like a incredibly beyond nice from an athlete to say something like that. You know what I mean? Just super nice guy, and yet he was hated, and we couldn't wait to have this guy, out of town. It's just like, I don't know. I don't think it's good. Nobody should get that upset about these players and feel like they're just, awful.
That's the thing. And I want to respond to some of the guys in our comments, because they're saying, that there's, for example, San Diego says there are many professional athletes who do not utilize their gifts to the full extent. That's true. I don't have any problem with you guys with fans criticizing the play or saying they need to improve on this or that. What I do take issue with is hatred for the person, or saying I can't wait till this guy's off my team and out of my city, or like that kind of vitriol where it gets that level of almost like personal attacks. That stuff is unhealthy. And another Chubbs82 said players playing hurt because their feelings, or playing bad because their feelings are. No. They're playing. I don't know why they're playing bad, but we shouldn't villainize the person. We shouldn't treat Campaign like he's a terrible person because we didn't like his basketball play. At the end of the day, it's a game. It's just a game. Like, these are real people. Their jobs are on display 24/7. And as Will White said in the comments, they're not allowed to clap back at all. They're not allowed to talk to you. I mean, there's a few instances where it does happen, and the players are almost always the receiving on the bad end of that. So all I'm saying is the vitriol, I think, needs to get toned down a lot for a lot of these players. Because as Fred said, how many players have been kicked on their way out the door of Chicago, and you think other people want to come play for this fan base if they're treating, anyone who doesn't win a title or isn't a playoff caliber person?
I mean, I just see, look how Thad Young's wife, she watches all these comments. I've been having positive, I don't know how many times I've said, I freaking love Thad Young, and she's loved that comment. Mm-hmm. I've also seen her fighting with people. First of all, if you're criticizing Thad Young this year, you're absolutely insane. Let me just say that. Yeah. I can understand last year, he didn't always have a lot of great games, and some people are criticizing him. This stuff, they're people too, and this topic specifically, I had this exact same conversation with Darnell Mayberry, who covered the team in Oklahoma City. And he brought it up to me. He's like, I've never experienced anything like this, compared to how that fan base was. Yeah. I think I always said it came down to me, it was the anger due to the unfulfilled expectations. Like, if you look from 2011 to 2008, LeBron James won 8 straight Eastern Conference titles, right? And during those years, there was only one, to me, legitimate threat to his, reign in the Eastern Conference, and that was our Bulls, right? But what happened? We lost unprecedented 5 season-ending injuries to 5 different starters, not in the regular season, in the playoffs, with the team winning or tied in a series. Go back. Rose in 2012. People remember that, but you forget 2 games later, Noah went out with an ankle injury in that same series in 2012, where his ankle got cut in half. The following year, Dang's in the hospital. 2 years later, Gasol goes out when we're up, 2-1, and that famous, today's the anniversary of that, where Rose hit that shot. And then 2 years later, Rondo goes out with the broken finger with us up 2-0. That kind of frustration leads to massive amounts of anger. And I understand some of it. It's just we got to focus it a little bit better I think
Yeah.
overall. I didn't even know there were comments here. Holy smokes, guys. I'm sorry. I didn't even realize it. I just figured it out.
We're
Pretty cool.
It's 2021,
Thanks,
baby.
everybody, for watching. I appreciate
No,
it.
it's funny. But you do see the fan reaction, though. I mean, for example, if there's a podcast called The Big Red Bus, every other episode, it seems like either the bus is on fire or it's like taking over the world. Right, Fred?
Exactly. Well, it's partly Doug's problem.
One of the things that I kind of wanted to hammer too that you guys brought up was with the campaign and a couple of other guys, situation matters, and I think we are totally seeing it with Daniel Gafford. Like we comments all the time. Oh man, why didn't he do that with us? It's like, guys, like, okay, reel it back in. Let's think about it for a second. If you watch them play, they're not asking Daniel Gafford to sit in the pinch post or high post and dissect the defense and make the extra pass. That's a part of the game that just doesn't come if you're not used to it. You have to get used to it. What Washington did is simplify the game. Hey, big fella, you're athletic. Set some screens, roll. Russ will get down a hill. We'll get you some lobs. Hey, go sit at that dunker spot, brother. Bill or Russell will come off the screen. They're going to attract attention. Here's a lob, big fella. Like it's just simplified to what his strength is. Yeah. And some people got mad and, hey, why are we moving Gafford? Or, why is Gafford? Look, man, he wasn't going to succeed in this type of offense where they want their bigs to be a little bit more skilled in terms of passing the ball and reading a defense and knowing where the next pass should be. And that's the most frustrating thing is like, if you're going to be, I'm not going to say it that way, but like if you love the Bulls and you love basketball, actually learn the game, learn the situations, right? And then you'll understand why some players are going other places and playing better. It's because of the situations that they're in.
Yeah.
We don't have a Russell Westbrook that could just come off the screen and just downhill every single play that just collapses the defense. Zach does it, but we know Zach's a little bit more finesse. He likes to get the step back game. And, and that's what Billy has been trying to tell Zach. Say, hey, I love that part about your game. When I tell you to be aggressive, doesn't mean take every shot, but it means, hey, let's get downhill more. You're too athletic. Let's get downhill and let's collapse the defense. And boom, and I just wanted to bring that up because I see it a lot. It's like, oh, Gafford is playing so much better. And it's like, guys, let's talk about the situation.
Yeah, I said that on Twitter the other day. It's not like there's no talent leap that they just took once they left the team. Like, it's not these guys are just Daniel Gafford became, Superman overnight. He's in a better situation. He's in a situation that's more, that's why GMs are trading players every offseason, trying different combinations. That's why coaches are doing that during the game because they're looking for the different puzzle pieces that fit. And sometimes the puzzle piece just fits somewhere else. Campaign, maybe his situation is just perfect in Phoenix. That doesn't make him a better or worse player. Players can improve their own skill sets, but you have to maximize those skill sets when they're on the court and on the team that they're on. And so that's why I say, like, if, they may not be in that situation here, but that doesn't mean that they're terrible basketball players. You just got to find the right groove. And if you've had multiple situations over multiple years and it's still not working, then maybe that's more of a talent issue, and that usually plays itself out. But yeah, I know we spent a lot of time on this too, so we won't go. I want to get to a
worthwhile
far
discussion.
less inflammatory discussion, which is something that some of the guys in the comments here, Vincent Wong, our friend Mark K from Australia, Salim Sirwalla, who we had on with Ed last week, we were chatting, and Larro. And this is a tough one for Larro because he can't even look at the screen right now. But they were talking about who was better for the Bulls or who had a better career. Like, it was basically Jimmy Butler versus Derrick Rose and their legacies or their careers. And so I wanted to kind of frame this because I think the framing of it was who was better at their peak. And my first initial thought was, I'm not sure if that's a fair framing because we never saw Rose's peak. Rose was MVP at 22, but then he had the injury. I think if we had seen him uninjured from age 23 to 28, we would have seen his, quote unquote peak. Mm-hmm. Whereas Jimmy Butler obviously has had a long career. He was in the finals last year. He was absolutely incredible. Both special talents, I believe. But I just wanted to get your guys' take on Jimmy Butler and Rose. For me, I think both of them are great for different reasons. My ultimate take here is I think Rose with the right players around him has a higher ceiling, or that team has a higher ceiling than Jimmy Butler as the best player. Even though I think Jimmy Butler fits on a lot of different situations better than Rose would. But that's kind of where I'm at. But I wanted to see, Fred, we'll start with you first and see what you think about it.
Well, I can't believe this is a topic of discussion. Like, I'm absolutely shocked that anybody would think Jimmy Butler was ever anywhere near as good as Derrick Rose was in his MVP year. Jimmy Butler has never been a top 5 player in the NBA. He's not been a top 5 player. There's no doubt in 2010-11, Derrick Rose was a top 3 player by any metric. Look at this year. Let's look at last year. I'm going to name Embiid. Is Jimmy Butler better than Embiid, Jokic, Steph Curry, Kawhi, LeBron? He's not in the discussion for any of those guys. I don't think he's better than Lillard. I wasted like hours arguing with Mark K from Australia about this. I can't even believe I wasted my time arguing this. He's not better than Damian Lillard. He's not better than Anthony Davis. He's not better than Kevin Durant. He's not better than Harden. So, like, why are we having this discussion? Like, Derrick Rose in 2010-11 was clearly one of the best 3 players in NBA. And I've never felt like last year, he got to the finals. He played great. In the finals, he had one great game. It was also in a bubble. They didn't even earn home court advantage. They avoided all that. All the games were in Florida. They didn't have to go on the road to Milwaukee. They didn't have to go on the road to Boston. They didn't have to go on the road to, was it Indiana? Can't even remember where they played in the first round. He avoided all that. You're going to tell me they would have won all those series if COVID didn't hit? I don't believe it. They're not going to do it this year. 1 year later, I think they're probably going to lose in the first round. They might get lucky, get to the second. They're not beating Philly. They're not beating Milwaukee this year. They sure as heck aren't going to beat the Nets. So, like, who are we kidding? Like, I don't get this. I love Jimmy Butler. He's a great for the Bulls. He was a great player, but he's not a leader. I think Derrick Rose is a better leader. And he had better talent around him in Philly than Derrick Rose arguably ever did here. Derrick Rose got to an Eastern Conference final. He couldn't even do that with Philly. Like, I don't want to, rip on
before Larro
Jimmy
jumps
anymore.
in.
Go
Well,
on.
no, before Larro jumps in, I want to say, in Jimmy's defense, that finals performance that he put up against LeBron went supernova in a couple of those games, and Jimmy Butler was the best player on the floor during that game and won those
Was he
games.
the best
won
player?
those 2 games.
Was Jimmy Butler the best player in the Eastern Conference Finals for the Heat? Let's be honest.
Not in that series. I think Bam was better.
He wasn't even. Was there ever a series when Derrick Rose was on our team in 2010-11 where Derrick Rose was not the best player on the floor? It wasn't even discussed.
That's true. But I'm saying I think Jimmy's final performance for me put him into that superstar category, because that was I've never seen an effort like that from any player. And I know the comments going crazy. Mark K from Australia is here.
He's here.
Gosh darn it.
But I wanted to
What's he
say,
saying?
Vince wanted to clarify the argument. He says that wasn't the argument was, he says, who would you take in hindsight, knowing what you know about their careers? And he says, you got the 2 biggest Jimmy haters on the podcast, but
I'm not Jimmy.
I'm here to moderate.
Look, man. Look, Jimmy, I love Jimmy. Okay. Don't get it twisted. Back in the day when people, who's better, Paul George or Jimmy Butler? I took Jimmy Butler every single time just because I just thought he was a better player. But my problem, I never had this big of a, it's not even hate, just Jimmy Butler fans started with, they just put down Rose to make Jimmy higher, and I'm not with that. If you want Jimmy to be good,
Agree.
If you want Jimmy to be good, that's fine. But don't say, the MVP wasn't deserved. His off-court stuff makes him worse. He didn't work that hard. But don't talk about that stuff. If you think Jimmy is a great player, talk about Jimmy. Don't. There's too many people I've come across. It's just like, oh man, imagine if Jimmy was on those. If Jimmy was this guy he is now on those teams. Look, man. Okay, let me calm down. He wouldn't be able to shine Derek's shoes in that year. Like, just keep it real, man. Just keep it real. Like, if you understand basketball and you know what he meant to the team, the city, and I'll take out the city because Marquez said, "Oh, Chicago fans they're just people that grew up in Chicago just can't get over." Okay, take that out. Let's talk about him on the basketball court. Like, it's just frustrating, man.
I agree.
You see these comments talking about the defense.
I'm seeing these comments here. Well, let's forget about.
Let's talk about the defense, though.
Okay. Oh, come on.
There's no comparison.
This is the dumbest argument. Yeah. Guess what? Butler's better defender than Steph Curry. He's a better defender. We could do. You want to play this all day with all the guys? He's better than Harden. You're still taking Curry. You're still taking Harden. You're still taking Dame Lillard because they're all. I watched that game yesterday with Dame Lillard against the Lakers, and I'm like watching this game, and in the echo, I'm going through. I hear the comments I had where Mark is trying to tell me that Jimmy Butler is better than Damian Lillard, and I wanted to take my remote and throw it through the wall. I was so angry, realizing I wasted 2 hours of my life making this lame argument with him, going back and forth about Jimmy Butler is not better than Damian Lillard. It's like insanity. What planet are we living on? All right. I want to say one thing, though, because I got to make sure this is clear with all these people in these comments. Are these people trying to tell me that Jimmy Butler's season last year was better than Derrick Rose's MVP season? Because if that's what they're trying to say, I don't think Vincent is saying that. I'm hoping Salim ain't saying that. The only one insane enough to maybe will make that argument is Mark K. But nobody else in this thing can possibly be saying that. Because if you believe that, go watch the 2011-12 season from Derrick Rose when he won the MVP. It was beyond anything I've ever seen as a Bulls fan, and is much better than what I saw last year from Jimmy Butler in the bubble. In the bubble.
Yeah,
my computer is overheating because of all of the passion coming from you two guys on this one. And the comments are all so many pro Jimmy comments. This is amazing.
Of course it is, because this city turned on Rose. They turned on the Rose, and let's just keep it real. Everybody in the comments. Just keep it real. A lot of people turned on him. When his body failed him, there were so many people that turned on him. You know what I'm saying? And
totally. It's a joke. It's disgusting.
I worked at a store, and we sold jerseys and stuff like that. And I'm behind the counter ringing people out, and this guy comes up. I thought he was as serious as everything. He comes up and says, "Hey man, you got the new Derrick Rose jerseys?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, we got the holiday, the Christmas, whatever." He's like, "No, I mean the suits. You got the suits?" I just can't believe these are the same people that when he was with Detroit and New York, and he came back and had a heck of a game, MVP. Oh, he should come back. Those same people are saying, "Oh, we should have Derrick come back and be our backup point guard." It's like, no, don't do that now. Don't do that now.
I had this jackass. I was getting a haircut the other day, and I got in the Bulls conversation, same conversation that we're having now. This jackass was telling me, "Hey, at least Jimmy was willing to recruit." Who did he recruit? He recruited Dwayne Wade, who everybody, especially Salim, hates. In fact, I know people who work for the organization who is my team. Jimmy, this is my team. I want Dwayne Wade. I want you to get Dwayne Wade. Nobody ever brings that in the conversation. Who did he recruit in Minnesota? Who did he recruit in Philly? And who is he recruited in Miami? Nobody wants to play with him. Nobody wants to play. People want to play with Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose is the perfect kind of leader.
Hey, Fred, you know who does want to play with him? The guy that likes to sage the court and walk in with the walking sticks. You know what I mean? That Kyrie wants to play with him.
Oh yeah, of course. The nut job.
But
yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Everybody, oh man, Kyrie this, Kyrie that. But I mean, what has he done without LeBron, guys? I mean, let's just be honest. Like, I
can't even believe we're having this conversation.
I'm enjoying this so much.
I'm not enjoying this because it's irritating. It's really bothering me that people are actually think Jimmy Butler even remotely compared to where Derrick Rose was in the city. And you're right, Larro. We have all these morons that turned on Derrick because he got hurt And they're the same Tibbs guys. Oh, he didn't go play in 2013, and all these morons that like to puff out their chest and talk about not drinking water because it's going to cause you to cramp up. I'm so sick of it. They're all in the Tibbs crowd. He didn't come out and play. All these guys can go pound sand because Derrick Rose is one of the best players ever. And honestly, the second best player I've ever seen in this city outside of Jordan for those years. Then he got hurt. It was terrible. And Jimmy's not even better than Scottie Pippen. And well, I'm not going to go any further than that.
You know what? I was listening to Zach Lowe's podcast. He had Joel Embiid on, and Joel Embiid was talking about the year his brother had passed away, and he had that foot injury. And he said the team was like, "Hey, you got to get back. We got to get you back out there. We got to get you back out there." And he did it. And he said, "I mentally was not ready. I was trying to listen to my body." He listened to the team, went out there, and he re-injured the foot. And it's like, so many people, oh, he's soft. Oh, I've had that type of bruise before. How is you're not out there? Oh, it's sprained ankle this. It's like, guys, look, man, these guys are playing at the highest level of the highest level. If you can't go out there and give your fullest ability without hurting the team, sit out, man. And, Kawhi is taking all these days off. If Derrick would have been, oh, man, I need to take it. He got it. Whenever he needed it, oh, sore knees. Oh, Derrick is hurt. It's like,
it's the same mouth-breathing crowd that's all over towns. I can't stand it. Like, it's so irritating. And you know what? We're falling for this, Larro. I think Mark. I think they're purposely trying to get
Chris, you're a part of this too, brother. You're a part of this too.
I'm the only one here making actual real arguments. You guys are just all fanboying one way or the other. Okay, I'm the only sane person in this argument.
The whole thing too, I heard on this last show, I heard Salim talk about, he's still talking about the trade like it was the worst day ever. Zach LaVine came in that trade. It's not the worst day ever. Zach LaVine's an all-star. Jimmy didn't make the all-star team this year. I'd still rather have Zach LaVine from this day going forward than Jimmy Butler.
Let's correct the record on that. Jimmy Butler, number one, actually, there were rumors that he was offered. He was going to be selected and said he wouldn't unless Bam went with him. But I think the real reason he wasn't selected.
Where did you hear that? I want to see that story. My God. Where did that come from? Joe Cowley? Joe Cowley gave you that story?
I think it was Kevin O'Connor.
Guess what he did?
I can't remember if it was Kevin O'Connor or someone from the Miami beat. But anyways, let's be honest. Jimmy Butler statistically has had his best season yet this year. He absolutely deserves to be an all-star. He just missed a lot of time in the beginning of the season. Yeah, that affects
he misses time every year. He misses time all the time. He's hurt every year.
Yeah, but let's be honest. Would you rather have Jimmy Butler or Zach LaVine?
From today going forward, I see Vincent on here. I'm telling you right now, Jimmy's 31 years old. He's hurt all the time. I'd rather have Zach LaVine from this day going forward because he's younger than Jimmy Butler. I'm not saying Jimmy Butler's a better player than Zach LaVine this year. I understand that. Like if you're going into the playoffs, but I'm saying, Zach LaVine's 27 years old. He's going to be good. In 2 years, we're going to look back at this day. Everybody here on this chat, we're all going to look back and say, you know what? Fred was right. He was right again.
You've said that so many times, and I can't remember a single time when anyone has ever had that thought.
How dare you?
Years later. Because let's talk about this, Fred.
All right.
Where is this university that thinks that the scientists of some university in Idaho that think you have a 93% success rate?
Some guy sent me
I have a list of colleges and universities in Idaho, and I have never seen that one show up on this list.
All I know is that this guy sent me his email. He's like, I work for the University of Northeast Idaho. I'm in the science department, and you're right 93% of the time, and Mark K's wrong 93% of the time. Seems right to me. Seems it's pretty accurate to me.
For some reason, this reminds me of like a
math,
like a Dwight from the future, like The Office. The Dwight from the future emails to himself, like, "Don't drink the coffee today." Someone's playing a trick on you, Fred.
I'll find it somewhere. No, but honestly, there was a guy who sent me an email. I think he might have been insane, but it was a long email talking about how I was right about Ben Gordon. Listen, I feel like it's hard, Larro, because I could tell you're in the same boat with me. It's like, this is the exact same thing that happened with all these mouth breathers that love Kirk Heinrich. And I'd get in arguments. Unequivocally, everybody who hated Ben Gordon thought Kirk Heinrich was this god. Kirk Heinrich had 2 great years as a Bull. And 06-07 was his last great year in the regular season. Then the playoffs happened and he sucked, of course. And he was so bad that we had to get his carcass off the roster by throwing in a number 1 pick in 2010. That's how great Heinrich was. So then we got rid of him, and I'm going. What was my point here? Regardless, I want to throw that in because I thought it was pretty good. The comparison to Jimmy. Jimmy's time here. Jimmy was a lot better than Kirk Heinrich. I'm not saying that, but Jimmy was, for his first couple of years. His first year, obviously, didn't play that much. Next year, he was like average. He was average. He obviously became most improved, and the Bulls turned it all over to him. He said, Jimmy, you're the leader. 2016-17, who do you want? I want Dwayne Wade. You got him. I want Rondo. You got him. The 3 alphas. And what happened? He proved he wasn't a great leader. So we traded him. We made the trade. In retrospect, I still am happy we made the trade. I'm kind of laughing saying it because I know this is going to cause some issue.
Yeah, here's the thing. I agree that we had to trade Jimmy. I did not like the trade. I thought we shouldn't have had to, but I thought the reason we had to was because I didn't believe in the front office and the organization's ability to put a winning team around him based on their.
Why would you not believe that? Why would you not? At that time, they had 1 losing season in the previous 12 years. Why would you not believe that? All right, let's get it on now.
Yeah.
I'm surrounded. This is like the movie 300. I'm surrounded by all the anti-Gar Pax guys. They just signed. They just had signed 2 years earlier Paul Gasol, that everybody just ignores, who made 2 All-Star teams and an All-NBA team for less money, right?
Yeah.
And then he says, "I want Dwayne Wade." And there was only one other team. It was Arturis in Denver that wanted Dwayne Wade, and the Bulls got him instead of Arturis. Like, I don't think at that time you should have been like, I have no faith in their ability to build around them, because they gave him the right guys. And the fact is, it worked. We were up 2-0 on the stinking Celtics. I was in Boston at the bar, and I was telling everybody, screaming how much Kuzi sucked, and he wasn't even good enough to make a Division III team. And it was one of the greatest moments of my life. I had my Ben Gordon jersey on. I was telling, I was telling everybody in that bar, you suck. We're up 2-0. And Wade was awesome down the stretch in game 2, and Butler was awesome. We were doing it. And Nico was sucking, but I didn't even care. Zipser was playing okay. And then what happened? Game 3, Jimmy, here we go. Here goes. I don't even want to talk. All right, you know what?
No,
I got to calm down.
Here's the thing, Fred.
Yeah.
If we want to talk about Garpax, we're going to need an entire other show about this. So you can come back, and next time we'll talk about Garpax, because I've got a lot of thoughts on that. But Mark is right in here. If what should have happened, in my opinion, was if I didn't think they had faith in the front office, they should have fired the front office. But I knew that wasn't ever going to happen. It did happen finally. Thank God for Jim Boylan. That's all I got to say. He was so bad at his job that he finally got Pax and Gar fired. That's the greatest thing that's happened this decade.
Pax is still with us. He's still here, guiding light behind the scenes. He's still
here. I feel
here.
like he dead, but he's still with us. And like,
I love Pax. You know what was great about that Cowley interview is he would. Did you guys listen to that? I had Cowley on the last show. Did you hear all those stuff about Pax would come in the thing and everybody be pumped up after he'd give a speech, and then he'd leave, and then nobody would talk to him 2 months.
Do anything. Yeah.
Then the mice would come in. Like, everything I had thought was true. Taj loves Pax. Everybody told me this.
We can't get into. We can't talk about this right now. My blood is rising. So we're gonna do this. We're gonna switch gears here. Larro has got some word association.
Well,
some fun with you.
Can we just admit, though, I won that debate? I think. Let's admit that I won that.
We're gonna have to wait for the fact checkers, which according to the comments are going to be not 93%, but 7%. If you swap them, that's 7% true. All these claims, but all right. So we're gonna do a word association. So Larry's gonna throw some words at you, or phrases, or people, or whatever, and you're gonna have to come up the first thing you think of when you hear that. Let us know.
So I got a couple of names here. All right, just whatever, like you said, whatever comes up. So the first one, Ben Gordon.
Stud.
Okay.
Underrated too. Stud, underrated. Those two.
Stud, underrated. Okay.
Can I wax poetic on him for a while?
Go ahead.
The most underrated player, arguably, in Bulls history. Every year he's with the Bulls, never shot less than 40% from three. The best shooter. I still remember Scott Skiles complaining that if we have a player getting double teamed 30 feet out, we got to punish that. He wasn't talking about the great Kirk Heinrich. He was talking about Ben Gordon. Ben Gordon was awesome. And his 42 points, that was the only time I do remember when he scored 42 against the Celtics in game 2, where I swear to God, I was crying. I was crying in that game. I was opening tears of joy as finally all these battles I had with these morons about Ben Gordon, and he just scored. Oh, what a great moment this was. And, of course, that dumbass Vinny Del Negro had him on the bench when the game's over. And he was out of timeout, so he couldn't get him back in the game. Oh, man. Look at this. Oh, one of the best moments. Wow, I don't even remember that. He got hammered.
I still watch the series from time to time.
Yeah, and also just so clutch. Like, I remember that one game, game 5, he hit 3 free throws to get the game to another overtime. The guy was just so awesome. I don't know what happened. It'll be a mystery to find out whatever happened to him.
Yeah. So moving on, since you brought him up, Kirk Heinrich.
Kirk Heinrich. So his career in Chicago started out where I remember this because by that time the Krause years had gone into full effect, and virtually everybody I was the only guy ever watching Bulls games. It seemed like in my office, and people would come over to me and say, "How about that Kirk last night, huh? 18 points." And almost every conversation was like this. And I'd go, "What do you mean? How about that guy? Like, he was 6 of 18 from the field. He sucked, so he shot under 40%, but everybody thought he was fantastic." So he shot under 40% his rookie year. He shot under 40% his next year. Then he had his 2 good seasons. 06-07 was the good Kirk year where he shot, I think, 44 from the field, over 40% from 3. And then the playoffs, he was terrible. That summer he got married. I don't know what happened, but that 07-08 season was the worst season, arguably, I've ever seen from a player who was allegedly a star in Chicago. He got none of the blame for it. He absolutely sucked. They had some kind of ridiculous blame. Oh, it was Dang's fault because he wanted his contract. It was Ben Gordon's fault. No, it was Kirk's fault. He sucked all year. He was a joke, but he didn't get any problems for it. And it was so bad, and I was so angry that this is what people don't talk about. 30% of the fan base wanted the Bulls to draft Beasley because I had these conversations like, Derrick Rose is the best player in this draft. We have to draft him. And somebody would go, why? We have a point guard, Kirk, the captain. We don't need him. We need Beasley. That conversation happened day after day after day. That's how I got to be buddies with Big Dave because we worked in the same building. And the first question I asked him, do you like Ben Gordon or do you like Kirk Heinrich? And the next thing you know, we were fast pals for the rest of our lives.
All right, so Fred, unfortunately, we have to disqualify that entire answer. It was not one word. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul for that answer. But
one word.
But Salim makes a good point here. The irony, because and actually Chubb says, "Hey, I thought we're not allowed to say players sucked." So what's up, Fred? And then Salim brings up a great point here. The irony of hating on Kirk's shooting percentage and then loving Denzel Valentine this year. His shooting percentages, isn't he sub 33% from 3 this year?
He's had a rough year shooting from 3, but the difference is that when Denzel gets in a game, he's still suffering from the Boylan era where he feels like, I got to do it all. I got to do it all. I got to do it all. I only got 10 minutes. I got to do it all. And that's his issue. Whereas Kirk was, he had nothing but wide open jumpers while guys were doubling on Ben Gordon.
Oh my gosh! All right, we got to move on. We're gonna be here all night.
All right, we got to do one word, okay?
And then you can expect on.
Hey, Chubbs, calm down, will you? Yeah, it is a personal attack on Kirk. He sucked in 07-08. He's a nice guy, though. I wish him the best, and I wish you the best too. Good night.
All right, Thibodeau, Coach Tibbs.
Thibodeau.
One word.
Boy, what was
misguided. You don't say ice. I'm not sure what you're doing.
Misguided.
Hold on, wait. Misguided.
No, yeah. We can't get in. Whatever you do. Okay. Do not ask
misguided.
him. Do not ask him
Jimmy
about
Butler
minutes.
48 minutes in a preseason game. Yes, misguided. Derrick Rose, January 10th, plays 37 minutes. He's in a walking book the next day. 2 days later, he plays 39 minutes and 41 in a back-to-back. Yes, misguided. Yes,
All right.
I'll go on.
All right.
I'll go on, but I'm going to
we heard this one. We heard you and Callie chop it up for about 40 minutes on that particular subject. So you guys go listen to that on Fred's podcast.
Oh, he puts up on the screen. I love him though. He's a nice guy, but geez.
Okay, I got 3 more names.
Look at that picture.
Gotta love Tibbs, man. Billy Donovan.
Brilliant.
So Billy Donovan is brilliant, and Tibbs is misguided. Okay, I just want to make sure I didn't hear you wrong.
Hold on a second. You'll admit Donovan's a little bit more of an intellectual, right? You've heard him speak. He's a very smart. Obviously,
he's more articulate to the media about. I'm not sure his knowledge of the game. I'm not going to say I don't know their knowledge of the game. I can't see inside their heads, but I would say Billy Donovan's a pretty vanilla coach as far as tactics are concerned. Whereas I do think Tibbs was largely responsible for some of the defensive schemes that were put in place. For example, the Celtics when they made their title run when he was the assistant, and a lot of what the Bulls ran, a lot of the league copied those. So I think he was an absolutely genius coach on the defensive end for sure. And anyways, but I like Donovan. I love hearing his pre and post game pressers.
Oh yeah,
a lot.
He's made. Listen, just start. Let me just say one quick thing. We have no point guard on the roster, true point guard. We have no true small forward. Everybody's talking about all these lineups he's throwing out there. Yeah, we're missing 2 positions. Like, what do you expect? Let's go on.
Patrick Williams.
Potential.
Okay. Last one. Mark K.
Oh man, Mark K. Wrong.
Just wrong.
Just wrong. He's nice, but wrong. Like I said, 93% of the time he's wrong. Look at every big issue Mark and I have had an argument on over the last 5 years. It seems like we've been arguing. It seems like every day. Start Sodom movement. What a disaster that was. I mean, the whole nation. He got the whole nation, like 70% of Bulls Nation behind him. Start Sodom. Fell right in his face. Blew up right in his face. What was the other big thing that Mark and I argued about? Oh, he always loves these guys with short arms. It's amazing. Like some of these guys that he loves. Nawaba, short arms Nawaba. Guy's got to bend over to clean his belly button. All these other guys that he loves.
Oh my god!
You
remember Wayne Selden? You remember Wayne Selden? He would wax poetic about Wayne Selden. Where's Wayne Selden?
I like Wayne Selden.
Where's he at? He's playing somewhere overseas. Overseas. Where's he playing?
He would probably be our best small forward right now, though.
Mark's overseas. I mean, everybody's half the world's overseas. Who cares?
Well, I have to say though, Kobe. Shout out my boy Kobe. He has short arms, and he does not like Kobe that much.
Yeah, that's right. That's true. Maybe Kobe will hopefully break the curse. But he likes all these guys with short arms.
Ryan A
is another guy he loves. All these, nincompoops that are barely. Selden's playing in China. Wow. That makes sense. But you remember how he would talk about him? And like, there was never one night where I went to bed wondering, like, God, why didn't we resign David Nawaba? And every day I'd be reading Mark talking about Nawaba like he's incredible. Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, those are the names I wanted to see what the word was. I needed to see.
And it did not disappoint.
Good.
Did not disappoint.
Nawaba is good. Come on. I guess.
He's carved out a career for himself. He is a specialized player, and he's very good at what he does. I don't know about the belly button thing. I have no idea about the belly button thing.
He has to bend over to pull up his pants and all this stuff. And, yeah, we got it. I don't know.
Who doesn't bend over to pull up their pants? How long are your arms, Fred? Why is that a criticism?
You're right. Better than Jabari. Hey, Jabari, 21 points for Milwaukee. That's another story. We got to shut the. How long have we been talking? God, is it like 1 a.m. already? Holy smokes!
Yeah.
I hope you guys enjoyed the show.
I have thoroughly
I'm so
enjoyed it.
mad about some of this stuff that's coming across now. Jabari's still in the league. He's still playing for Boston. Where's Wayne Selden? Who's he playing for?
Oh man. You know, it's funny. Fred's gonna lay in bed just sweating the rest of the night from the whole commentary.
Jabari's still he's better small forward than Larry Markkinen, I'll say. Let's see.
Thanks, Chubbs. I appreciate that.
The better of a pull-up fan. This really devolved into a less professional podcast at some point. We're looking at this, I enjoyed it, and then I
the
started
See
reading
Red
the
Fred
comments. It took me half
special.
an hour.
Hey,
the See Red Fred special devolves into just pure BS commentary. I love it.
Guys, I think though we can all agree there are great things on the horizon. Like I see a potential for this Bulls team to become just absolutely incredible. You know, like I predicted in 2 years. You've heard my 7 theory. I don't want to say it for fear of losing everybody in the audience.
So Salim called you out. If we don't win the title in 23, you have to quit.
I did announce that I will. No, I said I'll quit as a prophet. I'll stop making prophecies, and I'll just so I will not make any more prophecies, and I'll announce that I'm Bulls gold. But I still think it's possible. You know, like, did you think anybody 2 years last year, 2 years previously, think Miami Heat were going to be in the finals? No, hell no. We got 2 All-Stars. We're not that far away. We get lucky this year. We possibly get a point guard like Suggs. We're ready to rock. 7 pick in 17, 7 pick in 18, 7 pick in 19, 4th pick in 20, 4th pick in 21, AK for the 7s, 7 title in 23. I like it. We all know it's true. 7 letters in Arturis, 7 letters in Michael, 7 letters in Scotty.
Oh my gosh. There's also 7 letters in goodbye, and I think that's what we need to say.
Yeah, guys, I gotta get to bed. Man.
We had tape to break down, but I guess I gotta put it on
in like 3 times. Looked at me like, "What are you doing?" It's 12 in the morning, and I'm yelling about Wayne Selden and short arms.
Oh my goodness, I love it, Fred. You did not disappoint. We really appreciate you coming on. I agree with you. I think the future is bright, and it's the most optimistic I've been as a fan for several years. And I, so far I've believed in what the front office has been doing. I think Billy Donovan is a good enough coach to take us into deep playoff run, and hopefully this continues. So thank you so much for the comments as well. You guys were on fire today. My computer is literally blazing hot. It's an old laptop that I'm on. I was worried the whole time that my computer is just going to explode during that discussion. But Fred, just a pleasure.
Thanks, guys.
For those of us who are not already entrenched in every part of your basketball life here, let the people know where they can follow you. I know you've got.
I just got to say one thing. I got to tell this. I want to thank all the 6th graders for today's game. We had the best basketball game I've ever had as a coach. We scored 30 points in an 18-minute running clock in the first half. It was incredible. So I just want to thank especially my son who had 2 3-pointers. There were only like 4 or 5 times in the past 5 years where I've been crying during basketball games. And one of them was, I talked about Ben Gordon, 2009. My son had 3 3-pointers in 1 quarter last year when I was actually head coaching a team. And then today he had 2 3-pointers.
What are you running?
That was pretty awesome. We run 5 out. 5 out. Yeah, so that was great. What did you ask me to do? Oh, talk about I'm at the gym. I'm usually at the gym.
Who are you, Fred? And where can people follow you?
I specifically mentioned this because I know it irritates Mark when I talk about my 6th grade team. You can find me at chicagobullseye.com. No, find me mostly at the Big Red Bus. The Big Red Bus with the great one, Doug Tonis. We're talking Bulls. Oh, exciting. For the next couple shows, we're going to get into history of the Bulls a little bit more, like iconic moments, like what were the 4 iconic moments in the last decade? Mm-hmm. And then we're going to talk about the future too, because the present's kind of depressing. So, hey man, it was great. I want to thank all these guys, Daniel Foy, Vincent Wong, Mark K from Australia. All these guys are great, man. They'd be hanging out with us this late. Even the Chubbs guy was great. God bless you, Chubbs. Meg Blazer, Salim. We gotta love Salim. All these guys are good guys. Christopher Gonzalez. Thanks again.
Yeah.
I wish I would have seen the comments before half the show was over.
Maybe it's better.
Yeah, maybe it's better that
than
way. Exactly. All right, guys. I'm going to get some beauty sleep. Hey, go Bulls. And thanks again for having me on. This is very fun, man.
Thanks for staying up.
We
Man.
appreciate
Thanks for
having
staying
you.
up with us.
Absolutely, guys.
All right,
Take it
Bulls
easy.
fans, we'll talk to you guys next week on Bulls 101. Enjoy the next week. We only got 8 more days of the season to go. Pretty crazy. So enjoy the rest of the season, and we'll talk to you again next week. See ya.
Take it easy.